Hello, everyone. Welcome to C-Suite Talks. We speak with industry leaders, introducing you to some of the most interesting people and businesses today. We're focused on women, money, and power, as well as diversity in all areas. And welcome to C-Suite Talks. I'm Beth Hilbing, co-CEO of C-Suite, along with
Hi, I'm Diane Gubin, co-CEO of C-Suite, along with Beth. And this week, oh my gosh, I am so excited that we're speaking with Katie Campbell. Katie Campbell is the president and CEO of Red Rover. And Red Rover, if you're not familiar with the organization, is a national animal welfare nonprofit that focuses on bringing animals out of crisis and strengthening the human animal bond through emergency sheltering, disaster relief services, financial assistance, and education. Katie leads the organization with an eye on building cross-sector collaboration, partnerships, and community. She began her career in nonprofits about 16 years ago, and she's worked with diverse communities across racial, ethnic, and economic lines. She's worked closely with domestic violence survivors, as well as other individuals at risk, and with many nonprofits serving these communities. We are so happy to have you here today. Welcome, Katie, to C-Suite Talks.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me, Beth and Diane. And thank you for the support over the last few years of Red Rover. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, Red Rover is one of our philanthropic
Mhm.
organizations that we support. And so please, they do such wonderful work. Go out to their website and donate because they do such great work with our animals.
Usually
So
donations at the end, we ask right at the beginning.
that's right. That's right. Especially now. So
Yeah.
tell our first-time listeners about Red Rover, how you got involved, and what is your focus this year? Obviously, you've had to deal with a lot this year, but
Yes.
talk that
Yeah,
through.
yeah. So, as you mentioned, one of our core programs is really to keep animals and their people together through crisis. And so it's no surprise over the last about month or so, our parts of our country have really been hit by natural disasters, especially Hurricane Helene, which I'll be very honest is a very special place to me. I grew up in that area. And so I was just so happy that we could go and support those folks in that area. So we sent a team of volunteers to the Asheville area to help provide that emergency temporary sheltering for the pets of people who were being sheltered there. It's wonderful, wonderful work, and it is one of our core programs. We know that oftentimes people experiencing a natural disaster will not seek shelter, will not seek safety if they can't take their pets with them. Absolutely, yeah. So we want to provide that really, really critical piece for them so that people and their pets can be safe and together.
For sure. And Katie, when we found Red Rover, I live in a fire zone, and I was always so nervous that if we had a fire and I got separated from my pet, what would I do? And that's where Red Rover, you reunite pet owners with their pets if they get separated.
We do. We do. We're very fortunate to work with local partners. So we are always asked to come in. We don't do what we call self-deploying. So when there is a natural disaster in an area, we will have the local entities reach out to us. And so we will send in the people power. And those folks will provide that daily care for pets. They'll provide that love and attention for them. And one of the greatest things that I've personally seen over my time in some of those deployments is those reunifications. There is something really beautiful and really powerful about that pet and that person coming back together again. There is so much joy and joyful tears on everybody's faces at that point.
So
I
is
know
it
because
all
you worry
volunteer?
about them so
Like,
much.
is everybody a volunteer out in the field? Like, how does that work? Like, who is the person who's reuniting me and my pet?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a great question. So we do have some staff who are trained what we call team leaders. And so our team leaders, our staff team leaders do lead the local team of volunteers. So that part of our program is purely volunteer based. We have roughly 4,000 volunteers throughout the US and Canada. And when a disaster happens and we're asked to come in, we basically send a message out to our volunteers and the team goes into motion after that. So behind the scenes, our team is working with those volunteers, scheduling them. getting them all the information they need. And then our volunteers go and they provide that support and that love along with our staff team leaders.
That is
Um,
awesome. So tell us a little bit about your domestic violence assistant
yeah.
program.
How
Yeah.
did that all?
Unfortunately, you have to have one.
Yeah.
We do. And I'll be quite honest, it's one of the things that really drew me to Red Rover back in 2016. I come from the human services world. And so I know that not being able to take a pet with them is a huge, huge barrier for domestic violence survivors. And we know that pets will often be used within that context of power and control by an abuser. So since 2007, we have been providing a couple of different grants for domestic violence survivors to either help cover the cost of boarding while survivors in shelter, or actually providing grant funding to a domestic violence organization so that they can create pet friendly spaces at their shelter. And I'm excited to share with you both today that just in that safe housing grant program, we just surpassed the $5 million mark. So we have
Oh,
given
yay!
away, yeah, since 2012, $5 million to domestic violence shelters and animal shelters to create that space so that survivors' pets can be safe.
Wow. That is
Oh, awesome.
huge. And we know you can't do anything without, corporate sponsors and donations. We get that. C-suite is very similar in that way. So my specific question for you is, you've got this Purple Leash project that I know of. Can you tell us, and I have a little story about that too. Can you tell us about that?
I love it. I can't wait to hear your story, Diane. It is, you're absolutely right. We cannot do any of our work without partnerships through any of our programs. And I think our domestic violence work is one of the greatest examples of that. And you mentioned it, the Purple Leash Project. So since 2019, we've been partnering with Purina to provide the funds for those domestic violence shelter renovations to make them pet friendly, but also to raise awareness about the issue. We know that many people don't understand domestic violence. They don't know how to talk about it, but they do know loving a pet. And so it's this wonderful way to, I think, have really hard conversations and understand why survivors might not leave. And Purina has been amazing. We've seen Purple Leash Project messaging in grocery stores. Some of you listening may have heard an ad on a podcast or even seen it on the TV. And that's powerful for us because, sure, it drives donations, and we need that because we need to get the money back out to organizations. But it also helps make sure that survivors know these resources exist. And there is a huge gap. So many domestic violence survivors don't know that pet housing programs are a thing. And so we really, really need to get the word out about this. So we love our Purple Leash Project and the folks at Purina.
Okay, what's your story, Diane?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll make this very quick. So I had two Great Danes, and I say had because one of them passed, but not that long ago. And one of them, they were both black. So one had a red collar and one had a purple collar. Okay. And after Penny, who had the purples, passed, some time passed. And, you're always aware when somebody or somebody you love passes, you're always looking for signs. And you know what? There was a backpack that I had taken to New York when I had met Katie. And at that C-suite event, she had given out these purple bandanas talking about the Purple Leash Project. And I had not been in this backpack since I had been in New York. And as I'm trying to figure out whatever, there's nothing in this backpack. I pull out this purple bandana. I'm like, oh my gosh, Penny, I'm sure you're with me. So anyway, that was my open story.
That's very nice. That's very
Sorry,
nice.
a little sidetracked.
So you're not new to Red Rover. You're new to the role as president and CEO. How have the last 8 months been, and how have you taken on the reins in your role? And have you made any changes with the
Yeah,
organization?
like how do you step from being the layperson to all of a sudden you're leading?
I love it. First of all, Diane, I love what that bandana brought to you. That is amazing. I've been at Red Rover about 8.5 years now. And it has been a transition. It's been this amazing, I will call it a roller coaster. But it's been this fun roller coaster. We have changed some things, but honestly, I'm so appreciative of the staff and the team and our two vice presidents that really stepped in as interim leaders and really carried us forward. And so, in terms of like thinking like, oh my gosh, I have to come in and like change things, there wasn't anything. Like we have such an amazing group of team members that have just carried on over, a year or two of transition. So we've really focused on not so much changing, but kind of getting us to a point where what else can we do? Where else can we go from here? Where else do we want to go from here? And where else do we need to be? And that is, kind of at the core of our work is continuing to learn and continuing to find those gaps and those places where we can fill in. So it's not been so much change, but it's been excitement and thinking about where from here.
Oh, so what's the vision? What's next? What's your scaling?
I love it. I love it. We are, I think, very much in the midst of some pretty exciting campaigns. We are working towards getting 25% of domestic violence shelters pet friendly by the end of 2025. So that is like most immediate, like, let's get there. Let's continue to help keep people and pets together in natural disasters. And let's keep teaching kids about a more compassionate and empathetic future through our readers program. So that's kind of like the immediate, like what's next. And then we've got some things on the back burner, beyond our 25 by 2025. I'm just really excited to just continue to grow and continue to grow our reach. And I don't know exactly what that is going to look like yet, because we've got some pretty ambitious goals in front of us right now.
Well, it's good to have those goals and those stretch goals for
And we're
sure
here to
because it
support
keeps
you
you
in that
moving.
process.
And we are for sure.
I love it.
And Katie's going to be a guest at our holiday event where we're doing AI and art on the 12th of December. It's virtual, so join us. How do you become a volunteer, number one?
Oh, yeah.
And then how do you interweave collaboration into Red Rover? So it's kind of twofold question.
Yep. Okay. So first question, you can become a volunteer by completing our online Go at Your Own Pace training course. You can find all of that information at redrover.org/join responders. We say plan about 4 hours total. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it's a little bit longer, but pretty easy process and it's free. So again, visit redrover.org/join responders. You'll get all the info. And then in terms of collaboration, honestly, it really is weaved in through absolutely everything that we do. With our Red Rover Readers program, we're doing this really cool stuff where we're working with communities to actually help them create their own book curriculum. And so books that really represent the people who make up their community and the animals that make up their community. So there's that. There's, our responders work to not only just respond to disasters when they happen, but also help prepare communities ahead of time and think about what does disaster planning look like? How can we be prepared for it? And then, of course, all of our domestic violence work. We talked about Peering and the Purple Leash Project, but we couldn't do that work without the collaborative support that we have from PetSmart Charities and from Greater Good Charities as well. We not only do we provide the grant funding, but we provide just a ton of technical assistance to organizations to create that programming. And so walking them through the process, answering questions, providing that support. So, collaboration really is kind of the foundation of just about everything that we do.
Oh, that's awesome.
We love it.
You have to in the nonprofit world.
Yeah.
What got you started in the nonprofit world?
Yeah. I mean, you just said I want to go work in nonprofits.
Yeah. I kind of landed in it if I'm going to be really, really honest. So my beginning in the nonprofit world was AmeriCorps, actually. So yeah, 16, maybe 17, 18 years ago now, I was in grad school and one of my classmates said, "Hey, we are looking for some AmeriCorps members. We think you'd be a great fit." And I did it, and I completed my first term of service, and I managed to get a position with the agency, so a full-time position, and I was there for about 7 years, and I fell in love with nonprofit work. It's passion-driven work, and that really does speak to me, and so it's been a wonderful ride since then. I've kinda had a couple of different positions since that initial work, working with, families and young children. But I've always sort of stayed in this context of, meeting people where they're at and just getting to know people and understanding them and supporting them.
So,
That's
so
great.
Katie, well, first of all, we love where you are in your career.
Mhm.
We always want to help emerging leaders. So, what advice would you give either to a younger Katie or to somebody who's just starting their career and coming up?
Yeah, yeah. I love this question. So, I would tell both younger me and younger folks today, have confidence in yourself. And I especially think this is true for women, and people of color and women of color. Have confidence in yourself. We often have to work a whole lot harder to get where we want to be and to do what it is that we want to do. And so, just have confidence in yourself, stay the course. Um, and, I think for me, especially for younger people, don't be afraid to ask for support. It's okay to not always have the answers. And that is something that I very much have to remind myself of these days is it's okay if I don't have that answer right now. It's okay for me to say, you know what? I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me get back to you. And then following through and getting back to folks, I think is, closing that circle, I
Yeah,
think is the feedback that I would give both younger me and the folks of today.
I agree. Closing the loop is so important, right?
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. So,
Um,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead,
I was
ma'am.
just going to thank Katie. Tell us how we find Red Rover. What's the website?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Redrover.org. You will find all of the information about all of our various programming. And of course, you will find the button to donate. So I am from a nonprofit, so always have to get that in there. We very much can't do our work without partnerships and without donors and supporters. So redrover.org.
I'm on the monthly program. So, yeah.
We love you for it. Thank you so much.
Of
Yeah.
course. Of course. So, Beth, you want me to thank our sponsors or?
Sure, go ahead.
So thank you to our sponsors. C-Suite couldn't do it without you. And we thank Google. We thank City National Bank, Cigna Healthcare, Nutanix, Uncle Nearest, and C-Suite Executive Search. If you're hiring for your team, be sure to call us. Thank you for listening. Beth?
Thank you. And then also hit the subscribe button on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere you find your favorite podcast. Leave us a rating, of course, 5-star review. And then connect with us on social media. And we love hearing from you. So send us an email, beth@csweet.org, and come to our website, sign up for the holiday event with Katie about AI and art. We're going to have the artists come. It'll be fabulous. And get active and involved. As Katie knows, that's the whole game. We need people active and involved. So thank
Right.
you today for listening. Thank you, Katie, very much.
Thank you, Katie Campbell from Red Rover. Thank you, Beth.
Thank you so